Today, guys, we have an amazing show. Today, we're going to be talking about whether you really need biopsy or not to determine your hair loss condition. Is it necessary? Isn't it? That and more we're going to be discussing here at the Hair Wire. And welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Hair Wire. I'm your host, Sergio Cardona, coming to you live from Bayamón, Puerto Rico. Right now it's raining. It's over 80-something degrees. I know most of you guys have cold weather, and by far, I'm telling you, you need to come to Puerto Rico and enjoy the warm weather during Christmas time. So, hey, I want to introduce my panel today. We have Bisan, Dipsy, Carrie, Jared. How you guys are doing?
We're doing great. We're so excited for today.
Yes, today we have a very great show. Today we have two of our best friends, Dr. Martina Candido and Dr. Gianluigi Antonini. They're from Florence, Italy, and they're right here with us. How you guys are doing?
Hi, everybody. Very good, thank you, and thank you for inviting us, Sergio.
No, it is my pleasure. For those of you who do not know, guys, this two are the two-third part of the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy. They also part of Trico Italy and the Italian Society of Trichology. You said it different. You say C3, right?
Yeah. Exactly. C3.
Exactly. It's a Society Italian Trichology. But, you know, for short, the Italian Society of Trichology. So these people, they have something very special that they want to share with us. And actually, I'm a fan of their work. I've been training with them during this year. We went to in April. We went to Florence, and we have an amazing week training with Dr. Andrea Marliani and the staff from the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy. Then another training in August, and no, it was July. July, was it?
July, yes, in Boca Raton.
July.
Yes.
July, yeah, we did that in July in Boca Raton at the Bauman Medical Center, and another amazing training. These people are above and beyond. So for those of you trichologists out there, if you really want to get your game up, like really get up, you need to get in contact with my friends of the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy and the courses that they are offering during the year in different places around the world. So whenever you see that logo, Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy, click on it and make sure you subscribe to their programs and get trained, because what they have is something marvelous, amazing. It's going to open your eyes to a lot of things. So among those things, we want to talk about hair biopsy. Is it really necessary? Isn't it? Bisan, I want you to introduce us a little bit of this subject, because for some of our viewers, they do not understand, that unfortunately, there's a crisis in our medical system that, unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people getting hair biopsies, scalp biopsies, I may say, because they're losing their hair. Is it really necessary? Talk to us about that, Bisan.
So yeah, unfortunately, like people, when they start losing their hair, they don't, trichology sometimes is not available for them, or they don't know what trichology is. It's lack of education and lack of, like they don't know where to go, basically. So the first thing that comes to mind is they go to their dermatologist. And the dermatologist, when they look at them, they have 2 minutes or 3 minutes maximum in their appointment to just talk to them and look at their scalp, which sometimes they don't even have the time to look at the scalp. So what they do is like, okay, you are losing your hair. We need a biopsy. That's it. No question asked, because they are not trichologists. They are not trained as trichologists to have the art of consultations with them, so they can track the root cause of the hair loss. So they are trained to have biopsies. So they will order a biopsy. The biopsy will come back, and usually it is out of pocket, because here, as you know, the health insurance does not cover a scalp biopsy, because hair loss is not a disease under the healthcare insurance, which is really, really annoying in a way, because, as you know, we have been advocating that if you have something wrong in your body, then you will lose your hair. And unfortunately, losing the hair for the American healthcare system is not significant enough to be addressed by the insurance companies. So to make the story short, any person who will have a hair loss problem, they go to the dermatologist, they order biopsy, and usually the biopsy comes back with redness. Since you have hair loss, most likely you will have redness. So, and redness is common with all types of hair loss, right?
Exactly.
All types of alopecia. So what the doctor will tell the patient, well, after $800, you have inflammation.
And you know about that because of your husband. You guys went through that process.
I'm saying that because my husband did that after $800 of a biopsy that left him with a huge scar in here, and it's still painful and tender till this moment, which is like 6 or 7 years later.
Sorry, Vincent, can you please show me again where did they take the biopsy?
I know.
We're gonna be talking about that.
Let's talk about that.
Hold that thought.
Yes, after $800, a biopsy right here with a huge scar. Till this day, it's tender and painful. And I read the report. The report says inflammation.
No, we're gonna be talking about that and then more. Carrie, what you see, for instance, those patients that come out with those big scars. I mean, how can you cover that up?
It's a little hard. You can cosmetically, yes, you could cover it with hair. You could use the fibers, but also too, SMP is not a good idea for it either. So it's unfortunately you're kind of stuck with it. So
it's unfortunate and then some. But fortunately for us guys, our friends of the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy, Dr. Martina Candia and Dr. Gianluigi Antonini, they have both been studying under a great group of medical professionals who have been dedicating themselves to actually understand trichology medically and understand trichology in a sense that is more applicable and more easy to understand. Not only that, but actually very darn accurate, which is very amazing. Now, Martina, I want to talk to you for a second here. You guys have been working with polarized microscopy as a technique to help diagnose properly scalp and hair problems. Walk us through the process on how you guys came across polarized microscopy as a technique to help people with their scalp and hair solutions.
I'm going to translate so I can say my part and Gianluigi can participate too.
Sure.
Ci chiedono come è nata questo utilizzo della microscopia e luce polarizzata nel mondo della tricologia. Ora dico io la mia parte, poi se vuoi intervenire anche tu. So basically why there is this use of the microscopy in polarized light in trichology, because the hair actually having all the amino acid one close to the other and being keratinized, it acting like a prisma, it acting like a prisma, which is what does it mean? It means that when the white light enter into the prisma,
in English it's called prism.
Prism. Thank you. When entering into the prism, then the way out is gonna be polarized. So different kind of colors came out. So thanks to the structure of the hair, basically the hair is going to absorb some color. It's going to show then some kind of color in the polarized kind of colors, and then you are going to receive many different messages. So the difference between using white light and using polarized light is that with polarized light, you are going to receive much more kind of information of the structure of the hair, of their hair sheath, of the internal, external, especially sheath, and you can be very, very accurate on the trichogram. So on understanding what is happening right now on your scalp. So what is the trichogram? Trichogram is the count of how many anagen, catagen, and telogen there are at this moment on the head of the patient. Another very important information, it is the depth. So thanks to polarized light microscopy, we are going to understand how deep is each follicle. And here we will not connect the topic with the no needs absolutely of biopsy, especially in androgenetic alopecia. Biopsy is very necessary for some kind of cicatricial alopecia to understand which kind it is, because there are many kind of cicatricial scarring alopecia, but absolutely not for androgenetic. Gianluigi, volevi dire qualcosa?
Sì,
Yes.
allora intanto sulle informazioni noi possiamo avere due informazioni dalla microscopia, una diretta e una indiretta.
The most important things with the microscopy is that you can have two different information, one direct, one indirect.
Allora, su quelle dirette aggiungo a quelle che hai già detto tu, Martina, la qualità del tricogramma e quindi la percentuale dei pre-miniaturizzati.
Regarding the direct exam you can do is the immediate consequence between the trichogram, so what I say, the count, but even the quality of the trichogram. So the next hair, the next cycle of hair, what is going to be the quality? They're going to be pre-miniaturized. Is this follicle starting to rising up? Is this diameter starting to go thinner and thinner? So it's the quality of the trichogram too.
Noi siamo abituati a parlare a sentir parlare di capelli buoni o capelli miniaturizzati, ma in realtà sì, vai.
Because normally we used to talk about good hair and miniaturized hair. We forgot we don't hear a lot talking about the process that brings to miniaturization, which is a pre-miniaturization process.
Noi di International Academy Hair Microscopy siamo stati i primi a introdurre questo concetto di pre-miniaturizzazione, che poi sono tutti quei capelli dove intervengono le terapie, che si tratti di androgenetica o di ipotrichia, assottigliamento dei calibri.
And as Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy are the first one that are starting to talk about this stage, the pre-miniaturized hair. So all the hair that are in transitions, and basically those are the hair in which all the therapy works, because we know that on miniaturized hair the therapy is not working anymore. So the first stage, first signals of pre-miniaturization, so first steps that this hair, instead of growing back as a good hair, is starting a pre-miniaturization process, it is a hair that can be saved, especially
Esatto.
if we recognize him at the first early stages.
Esatto, e qui esatto, e qui entriamo nel diretto, perché se io li posso riconoscere, li posso percentualizzare. Noi infatti attraverso la microscopia possiamo introdurre quello che è la microscopia analitica, cioè tirar fuori dalla microscopia dei numeri che traducano in analitica quello che è il problema tricologico.
And then there is the indirect kind of part, because when we recognize the pre-miniaturized hair, we can percentualize them. So if we can start to talk about analytic trichology, so we can start to talk about analysis, about numbers, we can start to talk about percentage, we can start to talk about percentage at the beginning, percentage in the middle of the therapy, percentage at the end, even if we know that there is never an end of a trichological patient. But during the years, during the process, we are able to give them exactly the numbers that are actually showing what is the real problems.
Sorry, Gianluigi.
No.
I want to interrupt you guys there for a second, because it's very interesting what you're saying, considering that most of the data that trichologists are able to collect is very subjective. Whenever we are using a scope, whenever we are just touching the patient, whenever we are smelling the hair, doing all of those things. But whenever we talk about percentages, whenever we talk about samples that we can measure and that we can count, is very objective data, and being objective in a field where usually we don't get to be that precise, changes the game and changes things for the good. You guys have been doing this for a long time, and you guys are already used to using that system. And I know that for you, anything that is not that, is like, are you really that far behind? I know for you, for you guys, it's really like that. But when you come across, now that you guys are teaching these methods, all across the U.S., all across the world. You see a lot of people that unfortunately don't realize, that there's a objective method that you can actually measure the hair and get a quantified information that it's not subject to my opinion, is the data, and it is what it is, and that's it.
Sergio, for us,
Exactly.
it's the only way to practice trichology.
True.
Because you
There
got
is
the
no
right
other
tool.
way. We can't work with opinions anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe at the beginning, maybe with people start, maybe, when a person get passionate, about it and start to study, I can understand. But then if we want to treat trichology as talk scientifically,
Sorry,
and we need, can you hear me?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And so we need to talk about the analytic part. And the analytic part, it is numbers that are measurable, and a number that if I take a sample of this patient, whatever I take it, you take it, or whoever other person take it, the result is going to be the same.
Exactly.
So
E
it needs
c'è,
to
c'è,
be that.
c'è questo famoso personaggio che diceva: senza i dati la tua è un'opinione come un'altra.
There is this, ti ricordi il personaggio?
Edward the Mind.
Edward Mind used to
The
say,
Mind.
without data, yours is just another opinion.
Oh, that is very true, actually.
That
That is very,
So
very true.
it counts like the other opinions without data.
Oh my God, yes, it's very true, and we are used to it, because that's why we keep pushing our students to get more education, because as you said, it's your opinion, and if you messed it up, then it's just your knowledge didn't mess up the diagnosis, basically. But now
In psychology, it's easy to mess up because there are many things that are similar. So if you don't have a point of view to watch at the scalp and at the patient from a point of view that is objective, like Sergio was saying, you can easily be driving incorrectly, very easily.
Very true. And also we also test for one area in a way, right? Like we test one area, we test one hair follicle. You're saying with the polarized microscopy, you said earlier that we can see how the percentage of catagen, anagen, and telogen. So are you
Yes.
taking more than one sample, or how you're doing that?
You are taking one sample with around 20 hairs, let's say 15
Okay.
to 20 hairs,
Oh.
and you take with the particular kind of tweezers that actually is like the hemostatic one. So it's once you grab the hair that during the extraction they are not going to move, and then you're going to analyze these 20 hairs. Normally we know that the hair it's divided basically in two parts, the upper part and the lower part, that are like two different kind of hair. Sometimes we have like two hairs of two different people, because one area we know have receptors for androgens, for hormones, one area is not. And so we normally don't even look at the good one, except for people that want to receive a hair transplant. And we focus on the worst part. So we are going to collect the samples in a place, in a spot that we teach exactly how to take, which is the worst part of the hair. So it's the part that today that we are taking the sample is the most degenerate already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we count analyze the worst, so we know that whatever situation there is in the worst, in the other side is better, and whatever result we have in the worst place, in the other side will be better.
I have a quick question. Please. Would you consider taking also a sample from the good ones, and that will be your starting point or your reference?
Not really, because you will never go there. So even a person with the perfect healthy hair, the upper area is always a little bit thinner than the donor area, what we call donor area. So there is always this slightly different. Of course, with the donor area, if they want to do the hair transplant, you can recognize if there is some hypotrichia. Hypotrichia, it means thinning. That the thinning can be in the donor area too. Is a kind of thinning that is not very in the donor area, is not very shown, or is not very
Aggressive.
that's recognizable or aggressive. It's just something. But if you are looking for a hair transplant and you want this hair transplant to be the best in the next X years, then the donor area can be improved as well. If there is an hypotrichia, can be treated first, and then the surgeons can proceed to make the hair transplant.
So the polarized microscopy, is not very important for trichologists only. It's really, really important for hair transplant surgeons if they want to guarantee their hair transplant. It's just, wow, we don't even have one, I don't know.
Perché noi dobbiamo migliorare la zona donatrice, ma anche stabilizzare la zona ricevente.
Yes, so we can analyze the donor area and understand if the donor area today is at his best. If it's not, we can bring the donor area at its best. But we need to stabilize the receiving area too. Now, this in the US is not very common. Just a few surgeons, one of the best surgeons does it, because I've understood in long term that having happy patients in long term, it's their real marketing
like asset,
yes. And so it's coming now, but here, for example, in Europe or in Italy, for sure, the surgeons actually they want to be sure that if the patient go through a hair transplant, is going to treat the receiving area too, because if you're transplanting, it means you are redistributing a number of hair you have in another part, in an area that actually it is hit by a problem. And this problem, as we know, especially androgenetic alopecia, it is degenerative. So whatever situation you have today, if nobody do something, in the future is going to degenerate. So you may need a second hair transplant. Now, okay, let's do a second hair transplant, but how is the donor area? And what if instead of a second hair transplant to make it stable again, is not going to be necessary because you are stabilizing with therapies, and then you may do a second hair transplant, but to make it fuller, or to adjust, maybe the hairline, or to, give another kind of density after, let's say, 5 or 6 years.
Actually, I had a lady, sorry to interrupt. I had a lady, she had 5 hair transplants. 5 hair transplant. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, you have a donor area, and that donor area will give you just about, X amount of hairs that you can extract from there. And that's it. That's it. You cannot do more hair transplants. So considering what Martina just
I'm really sorry for her.
Yes, definitely. The thing is that, people get hair transplant like it was candy, like nothing. And the truth is that we need to treat the area to make sure that the process is successful, because if it isn't, at the end of the day, you may need another transplant, and you may want to save, those hairs from the back for future transplants if necessary. But having 4, 3, 5 hair transplants, that's crazy. That's unheard of. Now, I want to walk you guys through, again, going to the main subject, the biopsy. How can we compare biopsy results against a trichogram, for instance? The quality of information that we can get from one to the other, and how accurate can it be in terms of the information that we're getting? Gianluigi, I think this question is more for you.
Dice: qual è la differenza fra i dati analitici che possiamo ricevere tra la microscopia e la biopsia quando si parla di alopecia? Are you talking about the androgenetic alopecia, right?
Yes.
Or in general, sull'androgenetic alopecia?
Allora, intanto nella biopsia bisogna anche capire se l'anatomopatologo intenda anche di tricologia.
So the first things, and sorry if I'm laughing, but here we had for many years this problem. So first of all, you need to understand if who reads the biopsy is an anatomopathologist. How do you call it?
Anatomy pathology.
A
Anatomy
pathologist.
pathologist
Yes.
that understands trichology. First of all,
Which is not existent in the US. I'm sorry.
it's pretty rare. In Italy, we have some very good one, but there are a few. So people that receive the hair sample are not everyone, but not because they're bad automopathologists, but because
But they
if
haven't
you're
been
not specialized in this,
Exactly.
it's not their fault. It's
Yeah,
not their
it's not their
fault. So if you're not specialized in this part, it's very specific one. You need to know what to look for to recognize it.
Yeah.
Ok, Gigi,
avere una istopatologia di 1 millimetro, 2 millimetri di un punto della testa non può fare la statistica di tutto quello che succede nella nostra testa.
And it is very important to understand if the person that took the biopsy, it is expert in trichology. Because 1 millimeter outside the androgen area or 1 millimeter inside, or whenever you are moved, it's 1 millimeter. So it can't be, especially if the person is not expert, specialize in what he's looking for exactly, because it's different of the pathology. So which pathology are you looking for? So which area you need to take it? And so this is another challenge. So the spot in which they are taking the biopsy.
So when they took it from my husband from here, it doesn't count actually.
Esatto.
So now, if your husband has some scarring alopecia, very diffuse, and then you took the sample in the borderline between the scar part, no hair, and the non-scar part. So in this borderline, then you give to the anatomopathologist a way to, in one slide, to have the two conditions, so healthy skin and unhealthy skin.
Sweet.
If you took if you're looking for androgenetic alopecia, even if here in Italy, absolutely, I've never heard about somebody taking a biopsy for an androgenetic alopecia because it's very clinical and there are other methods. But you need to take in the place in which the androgens are active, because you need to recognize that the hair follicle, it is rising up. So you need to take a place in which normally measuring the depth, it is X, and in this case it is Y. So it means that there is a rising up of the hair follicle, so it gives you more in the androgenetic. If the depth of the hair follicle it is very deep, the way it should be, and the anatomopathologist need to know what is the exact depth of the hair follicle, but they're just thinning, then it's more hypotrichia, which is not androgenetic. But you need to know where to take it. The person needs to be sure what to look for, and the dermatologist needs to say, my doubt is between this and that. So the anatomopathologist can give their opinion. Otherwise, in all the sea, it's impossible.
Tra l'altro, anche le istopatologie andrebbero fatte in luce polarizzata. Le istopatologie in luce polarizzata confermano che la formula del tricogramma è 80% anagen, 10-15% catagen e 5% telogen, mentre invece in luce bianca si confondono i fine catagen con alcuni anagen e viceversa, cioè la fase catagen 3 spesso viene sottovalutata.
And even the anatomopathologist can use the polarized light. Thanks to the polarized light in anatomopatology, then it is very visible how the percentage of the trichogram is different, because we know that anagen is around 80%, catagen around 10-15%, and the rest is telogen, the real trichogram. And even with the anatomopathologist can confuse inside to the hair the catagen 3 actually. So the catagen 3, it's very misunderstood, and then more it's intelligent than in catagen, but it is totally incorrect.
Those little details
E
like
non
that.
si possono neppure fare le valutazioni con lo squalene e l'acido lattico, che confondono ancora di più per l'assenza delle guaine un catagen 1 da un anagen e il catagen 2 dal catagen 1 e 3.
And without the polarized light, you cannot even consider all the incidences that there are on this hair. So if you analyze the slide, the anatomopathologist analyze the slide with the skin inside, you can't do all the all the thinking, all the thought process around the lactic acid presence, squalene presence. So all those kind of information that allows you to understand the health actually of the anchor system, which is very important for the next cycle.
Very, very, very important. Now, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into the process, because we know that there's a specific data that has been published, has been studied for years, and now we have specific measurements to understand whether a hair has been miniaturized or not. And it is not something that, again, it is very objective, not subjective. So over the years, that's like what you mentioned. We now understand that the catagen phase is not the shortest phase of the follicle, but telogen, and many other facts that you guys have been able to come across and basically debunk many of those myths that has been going around since the 50s, and they needed to be updated. Now, I'm a bit, encounter with many dilemmas right here, but the idea of having those measurements, how does it allows you to understand this data in terms of what's really androgenetic alopecia and when it's not?
So first of all, I'd like to say, and then I want to ask to Gigi as well. Gigi, ti traduco e poi rispondo un attimo a una cosa. Dice esattamente quali sono i dati che ti consentono di stabilire cos'è androgenetica alopecia e cosa no. Però fammi dire prima un'altra cosa. So before Gigi to respond, I would like to tell you to explain something else that it's not clear today. So remember that anagen and catagen are phases of the hair follicle. Telogen is a phase of the hair. The hair follicle doesn't go to telogen. The hair follicle moves from anagen to catagen. When the hair moves to telogen, the hair follicle go back in anagen.
I had no idea.
I know. And we find out coming into the US that this wasn't, clear. But this is important for all the therapies that you think about.
I know that for our viewers, give me a second, Biz. Our viewers, I know this is very, very deep for you guys. This is more to the professionals right here. But for you guys who are watching, let me tell you, there are better ways to find out what's happening with your hair, and you need to check out the trichologists and the personnel that you're giving your hair to, and make sure that they're updated to the latest techniques and they have been properly trained with the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy. Please continue.
Gigi, vai, continua con la domanda.
Allora,
quindi la parte analitica di capire quando è alopecia androgenetica e quando no, è qualcos'altro.
Allora, intanto partiamo dal presupposto che clinicamente o idealmente noi siamo abituati un po' a ragionare a compartimenti stagni, cioè o è androgenetica o è ipotrichia.
So sometimes the habit on our mind as a professionist that talk about hair, the habit is working in blocks. So or it's androgenetic alopecia or it's not.
Allora, intanto per la donna è spesso più facile perché sono nel 98% dei casi soggetti a ipotrichia.
So quindi, in women is easier because 90% of the cases are hypotrichia and not androgenetic alopecia.
Negli uomini invece potremmo avere anche un mix di entrambe le questioni.
In men we can have a mix of both. So we can have the hypotrichia, it means thinning of the hair, but not doesn't mean rising up, and androgenetic alopecia. So it means degenerative, so rising up and then being degenerative for the next cycles.
In questi quadri, in questi pattern variegati, mixati, si inseriscono poi i contesti delle incidenze, quindi degli aspetti psicosomatici.
In these different patterns, mixed patterns, so or just androgenetic alopecia, or just hypotrichia, or hypotrichia and androgenetic alopecia both together, another important aspect are the incidences. So the incidences are the psychosomatic part. So whatever happening in our body, how does this affect each single follicle?
Ecco, cosa ci aspettiamo di vedere e come ci aiuta la microscopia? Nell'androgenetica noi siamo abituati con la videodermatoscopia a valutare l'anisotrichia dell'androgenetica e quindi l'alternanza dei diametri rispetto a capelli tutti uguali o normali o sottili. E questa è la differenza dal punto di vista videodermatoscopico, no?
First of all, we are used to see with the video dermatoscopy, so the micro camera outside, whenever we talk about the real normal androgenetic alopecia, we are used to see what it calls technically anisotrichia. What does it mean? It means the difference of the caliber. So very, very thick hair and very, very thin hair, which is a very random and which the difference between the two calibers it's very exaggerated. While with the hypotrichia, you normally see the thinning that is going more or less together. So you see one or two very thick hair, then you see hair of different kind of diameter, but between them there is not this huge difference.
Ecco, in microscopia noi abbiamo la possibilità di valutare, di vedere le stesse cose, ma in più possiamo misurarle.
With the microscopy, we not just see the same things, but we can measure them, so we can have numbers to relate to. So it's not how trained is the eye of the trichologist on seeing an image, but you can start to measure.
Ad esempio, nell'androgenetica noi noteremo capelli preminiaturizzati più spostati verso la miniaturizzazione, che significa che hanno un calibro molto esile, ma anche una profondità ridotta.
In the androgenetic alopecia, we see the preminiaturization of the hair more moved into the miniaturization. So what does it mean? That we see thin hair, so the very, very little caliber, but even the depth, it's not deep anymore. So we see that is more close to the miniaturization.
Mentre invece nelle ipotrichie noi avremo dei capelli ancora molto profondi nella fase anager, ma molto sottili, e possiamo calcolare anche la percentuale di perdita di massa rispetto a un capello ideale non generico, ma della testa della persona.
While when we talk about hypotrichia, so the thinning, just the thinning, we are talking about the hair that, yes, it can be very thin, but it's still very, very deep into the dermis. So the depth is very, very close to the ideal hair. Now, here we talk about the ideal hair, not the ideal hair in general, but the ideal hair of the patient, because you can measure the ideal hair, you can percentualize the preminiaturization, how the preminiaturization it is, which percentage, how many hair are preminiaturized, and this preminiaturization, what percentage of mass loss is creating.
This is quite amazing. Now, Carrie, I wanna talk to you for a second. You have been quiet for a while. Your head has been blown up right now. Now, for us, we have been taught so many times that whenever we use a microscope, a scope for the scalp, that, as Martina was saying, that if we see hairs that becomes thinner, usually we go directly think about miniaturization. Walk us through to that for a second, Carrie.
You're on mute, Carrie.
Carrie, you're on mute. Yep. That happened.
Yeah. No, I'm blown away. This is phenomenal information, especially with being a cosmetologist and what I've been trained. Like, it's totally making me question everything that I even know. Like a lot of stuff that I've known. Like when I see miniaturization, I automatically go to one, and now I don't know. My mind's blown right now.
Yes, because now we have to see whether it's really miniaturization or it's just hair thinning. And if the follicle has the depth, but it becomes thinner, then we know that for sure it's not androgenetic alopecia, it's not miniaturization. So it's a process right now, guys. For those of you who are in the industry, we need to update. We need to update and to get where we're supposed to be, like that quickly, because our friends who are watching the show right now they know that there are better ways to understand hair and better ways to actually get the right information. And if we get the right information, we get the best treatment. And if we get the best treatment, my God, we're gonna be keeping hair, and we're gonna be making that hair grow beautifully.
And I have to say too, I have to add this.
Yep,
Can
yep, she just froze. All right. So, Martina, again, when we talk about scalp microscopy, polarized microscopy, and the difference between a biopsy, what would you say at the end for the general public who are watching? Because most of our viewers, we have professionals, yes, but for the general public, what would you say to them if they go to a doctor? Because let's say I'm feeling like I'm losing my hair, and right now I go to Google and I see a Ludwig-Saving scale or a Norwood Hamilton scale, and I'll be like, oh, I have that. And when I go to my doctor, he will say, without taking a second look at me, oh, you have androgenetic alopecia, let's do a biopsy. What would you say to our general public right now?
This is very difficult for me, Sergio, because you're very talking about habits that I'm not used to. So here in Italy, things goes totally differently. So it's not easy for me to, be in their situation. First of all, I'm very sorry for all those people that could have answers and could have therapies in a very short time, very precisely, with the professionals that know how to do it. And they find themselves, swimming into an ocean very, very huge of people that you think they are very well prepared about the topic, but they are not. And there is no way for you to understand that they are not. Even if whenever there is a problem of the hair, the first things need to be a very specific interview of lifestyle. The first things first that the person that understands about hair will ask is lifestyle, their habit. How do they eat? Do they sleep well? What's their daily routine? Are they people that go on shift with their work? So all of these information are starting point to start to direct the professionist to the next step. The next step, it is the microcamera on the scalp, understanding what is going on, understanding if there is a problem on the scalp, if there is a dermatitis, if there is a dandruff, if there is an excess of sebum, if everything is full of sebum cap. So if there is a problem of hygiene, not hygiene in terms you are dirty, hygiene in terms of the right way on removing the wasting product of your scalp or building up of the product that you normally use. Third step is going to be hair microscopy. So extraction of the few hair, analyzing the hair of the slide, understanding what is going on, making measurement, giving numbers to the patient. So understanding exactly not just how you are today, but being able to do a prevision of what it will be in the next years. So what's going on your scalp? Now, I'm not saying that the biopsy is unuseful. Absolutely. The biopsy is very useful whenever you need to understand what kind of scarring alopecia you have, because there are many. And there are many different treatments for scarring alopecia. And there are different kind of diseases. For example, the LED, the lupus erythematosus discoid, and different with the lichen planopilaris. Once it's okay to go under the sun, one absolutely doesn't even need to look at the UV light. Otherwise, it will go worse. So the indication that the doctor needs to give to scarring alopecia are very, very important. So I absolutely understand why it is important to do a biopsy in that case. But on kind of problems that are just clinicals, like hypotrichia, androgenetic alopecia, there are many, many other information that you need that will lead the doctor, the professional, to the right diagnosis.
Dr. Martina, we have a question from our audience. Her name is Meda. She's asking, what's the best way to treat someone with seborrheic dermatitis and psoriasis? What's the best way to test? To test somebody with seborrheic dermatitis and psoriasis.
Basically, the differential diagnosis between the seborrheic dermatitis and psoriasis.
Okay, so the difference it is even these two kind of problems are pattern, so happen in different area of the hair, of the scalp or face or the body. So this could be an indication. And for example, psoriasis, we know that can happen on the scalp, can happen on the elbows, can happen on the knees. And so these is a kind of indication that is a pattern more of psoriasis than of seborrheic dermatitis. And the scales of psoriasis are gray-white, more like a piece of paper, a very, very small piece of paper. The skin is very, very dry and very red. In the opposite, the seborrheic dermatitis, it is more yellow because it's the sebum that actually is, have a disgregation. So the triglycerides of the sebum are having a disgregation. The malassezia furfur go up, and it's more like a production of our scalp. So the sebum that it's degenerating and it's becoming, can I say urticant? No, it's becoming annoying. Let's say it's becoming a problem for the scalp itself, and there is an imbalance of the bacterial flora. So there are situations in which they can have both. And today we know a lot about the sebopsoriasis. So it's not very, very easy in this situation of sebopsoriasis when they are both to recognize them. What I can say is that for sure it is important to have a very perfect hygiene, daily wash every day, because we need to
remove that buildup. Yeah.
Exactly, to have a perfect hygiene on the scalp and to do an anti-inflammatory program, whatever you have. So slowing down the inflammation.
Perfect.
In both of the cases.
My God, guys, time flies. We need to cut the program short today, but my God, if this information does not blow your head away, I don't know what will. But I want to thank Martina. I want to thank Gianluigi, my friends. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with us. By the way, when is your next seminar, your next course for polarized microscopy?
Okay, so we are right now, before the end of the year, we will came out with the newsletter, and it's gonna be the School of Trichology in Florence. It's gonna be 6 days this year, and it's gonna be a part for beginners and a part more advanced, and it's gonna be in the middle of June. Between the 17th and the 20th of June, but we will come out with the exact date before the end of the year. And this is the School of Trichology.
And you were mentioning backstage that School of Trichology, you have basically two programs, one for doctors and one for non-medical professionals. Is that right?
No, we are doing both for doctor and non-doctor, but I'm talking about the school that you did last year.
Okay. Yes.
Not the one organized by the University of Florence that will start in September and will be 1 year and a half long. This is another program that is going to be launched next year. I'm talking about the School of Trichology for trichologists.
Yes.
And it's going to be 6 days in total, and will be divided by first 3 days, and then the second 3 days very, very advanced. We are going to see how more practical than last year, Sergio, how to treat exactly in the different cases. So we talked last year about the microbiome. We talked about the essential oils in general, like horizontally. Next year, we are going to go vertically in all the diseases on how to treat them, to help the people with different approaches. And for the microscopy course, which is the 3 days advanced microscopy course, very practical course, we are working on dates as well and on places as well. And so we will let you know very, very soon where is going to be the next microscopy course.
I'm gonna throw myself out to the woods.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that in Puerto Rico, and we're gonna be actually there's a date. We're working the schedules, probably somewhere around November, October. So stay
End of
tuned,
October,
guys.
beginning of
Stay
November.
tuned.
Yes.
I knew it, Sergio. You cannot help yourself.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I can't hold myself.
You did it, Sergio. You say it, so I'm okay.
Io, Martina, visto che siamo alle battute finali, vorrei lasciare questo messaggio perché è importante il metodo e l'approccio analitico, perché la storia tricologica di ogni...
Gianluigi would like to, because we are at the end of this interview, would like to leave one very important message on why it is important to have the analytics on numbers, the analytics history of the patient.
Perché la storia tricologica di ogni persona c'ha un inizio, ma non c'ha una fine, c'ha un divenire.
Yes.
Because the history of each single patient, the trichology history of each single patient, have a beginning but doesn't have an end, have a becoming.
E questo è veramente importante perché noi non dobbiamo correre dietro ai pazienti, il paziente non va inseguito ma va seguito.
And this is very important because we don't need to, to chase the patient. We need to follow the patient. So we need to let them understand that they are perfectly followed by us for years and years. And this is another topic that we talk about when we do courses, that there is a different attitude of the patient in Italy to stay close to the trichologist for many, many years because there are numbers, it's perfectly followed, it is secure, and he sees that there is a scientific method on the ways of following, instead of in the US that, like we were saying before, there are many opinions. So they tend to go to many, many people, depends how they feel that the trichologist answered, but maybe he wasn't sure, he was hesitant. So this is a very important topic too.
Sì, i numeri ci dicono della storia di ogni persona, da dove viene e dove sta andando.
Numbers tell us where this person is coming and where it is going. And
accuracy is the key. Accuracy is the key, guys. Can't say enough.
We need to have a talk about that too, what you just said about having to follow, and instead of being all over the place, we need to have a discussion about that, because you nailed it on the head, especially in North America. Everybody's got too many eggs in one basket and you get nowhere. You need to have, it's different having somebody who has all of the tools and connects the tools, but when the client has too many eggs in one basket and not one strategy, you get nowhere. So yeah,
definitely.
We need to have that talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Grazie, Gigi.
Besides, anything you want to add before we go?
I am blown away, guys. Thank you so much for coming to our show. And I really appreciate that. We all do appreciate that. And I cannot wait to be your student.
And you're very welcome. So we wait for you in Florence in June. So
we welcome.
Now that
Perfect.
school
I
in
can't
Florence
wait.
is something special and then some. So I urge any one of you guys, get connected with Martina, get connected with Gianluigi. That school of trichology in Florence, that's a 1 week training. It's very intense. By the third
Nine,
day,
9 to
your
6,
head is
9
gonna
to
be
9 to 6, very intense, but
Yes.
very informative, very
And the
important.
one more thing before we go, how do we sign up for the newsletter?
If you can send an email to the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy email, which is eahmmicroscopy@gmail.com,
Can you
or
say that
through
again? I'm
social
going to type it for the people. EA
IAHM
FM
at
HHM, IAHM.
at
microscopy at gmail.com.
Okay.
Or you can simply enter into one of our social media and just drop your email. We are going to put you in the newsletter.
Can you make sure I write it correctly?
No, the E. The
Let me
E.
see. Oh, here.
Oh, can you write it? It's way better. I'm going to delete mine.
Okay.
Yeah, and your website too. Post it, and then I'll post it to the page.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah. While Martina's doing that, and so you can guys get the right email address,
Exactly.
so you can get in contact with Dr. Martina or Dr. Gianluigi. I want to say, by the way, Gianluigi that last week showed us the setup that he's working on his clinic. It's quite amazing. No, very, very, very spectacular place. Basically, a patient gets 3 doctors at the same time to get evaluation for the hair. They get Gianluigi, they get a dermatologist, and they also get a nutritionist. And they all 3 work together to help that patient. I mean, I will say that's the one of few places in the world that you get that, and the only place that you get like Gianluigi. So that's
Whoa.
very spectacular.
And that's in Florence?
Yes,
Yeah,
in Florence.
that's
Okay.
Florence.
Okay. So
Thank you, Sergio.
No,
you have
no,
my
my
husband as,
pleasure.
as your patient in June.
No, these people have my admiration and then some because of the work that they're doing and how they are doing it. And again, accuracy is the key whenever we talk about evaluation. If we have the right evaluation, then the treatment program that we build for our customers is going to be successful, and it's going to be able to actually treat the conditions that they're being affected with. So that's what we want. That's what we need. And for all my trichologist friends and those who are in the industry, doctors alike, if you really want to head yourself up and move up to a more precise evaluation process in terms of understanding scalp and hair situations, you need to get yourself into a trichology program and head to the advanced programs here with the Italian Academy of Hair Microscopy. Thank you, guys. Did we get the email address?
No, I think I want.
I wrote
it
it
didn't.
down. I don't know if it's working.
No, it didn't. It didn't come out. Can you do that again, just by itself, without any other sentence?
Right where you posted, thank you all.
Yes.
But before, thank you all, I posted.
It didn't come out. It didn't come.
Okay.
Can you do it again, please?
Sure.
We want the audience to have the correct email address, please.
Let me see if I have it.
Here you go.
All right. Is it? Isn't it? No.
Yes. Yes, I think you guys get it right.
There is one more M in yours.
Okay. We need to take this
Anyway,
down.
whoever is interested, they can come to our social page, which is Facebook or Instagram, and just drop your email, and we are going to insert you into the newsletters.
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, we'll do that. Martina, thank you. Gianluigi, Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you,
I
guys.
appreciate it. And we want to thank you guys for staying in this long, because this show is amazing and then some. It's too much information, but hey, we really want to bring you something special, something that you usually will never see. So I know that we're going to be seeing Martina and Gianluigi more frequently here at the show, but it's something
It
that
will be
we
a
want
pleasure.
it
Very
will be
pleasure for
ours.
me. For
It
us.
will be ours.
Thank you.
So again, guys, thank you for tuning in today. God bless you all. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.